we learn about the standard macro variables and how SAS macro processor handles macro variables, and we learn what is a macro, how to create and invoke a macro code, and we learn the different ways of creating macro variables. So the different ways of creating macro variables is the important ones are %let. Second one is Callsymput. You can also create by using proc-SQL. You can also create by %macro, %men statements. %macro, %men. So basically, I will teach 4 of these different ways of how to create macro variables and how to use them or how to invoke a certain value to these macro variables. First, we'll be learning with %let. We'll start with %let. So let's say if you want to print system's date and time, what do we do normally? Just time brackets and date brackets, and once you do this, you'll get date and time printed. So what was the time? 2110, 24, 2015. So date and time was printed 24th June. Okay. It is also created in the data set. It is also created in the dataset. If I want to change the format in my dataset, what I need to do? Why the format is not in time 8 dot and date 9 dot? What is put doing here? Anyone?
Sir, put shows in the log.
Yeah, if I want the values to be changed in my dataset, what I need to do here?
You need to use format.
Is that true, Bosky?
I wasn't there that time.
Yeah.
I wasn't there in class. So.
This was not said. Formats class was happened couple of weeks back.
Yeah, we have to set format there.
Yeah, good, Anjali. So good, Vibha, it's correct. Format is correct. So if I apply here, then even changes in my dataset also. See, even the format is applied to my dataset also. What does put does is put only prints it into log.
Sir,
Yeah, go ahead, Vidisha.
in format, does it prints in the log the way it is printed by put?
Yeah, that's how it is printed, right? Initially, 21/10/12/24 June 2015.
But in format, it is not printed, right? If we write
If you
format
write
here,
format, it is not printing. It is applying to the dataset.
yeah, okay.
So otherwise, there are SAS default options called ampersand sysdate, ampersand system. You can directly use these macro variables. So if you want to call macro variables instead of if you are calling a dataset variable, we will use put. But when we are calling an macro variable, then you need to use % in front of the put as an prefix. So when I use ampersand sysdate and ampersand system, date and time format will be printed. So we are not creating anything here. These are defaultly present in the SAS software. So once you use ampersand sysdate, the current date. Once you use this macro variable, the current time is printed. If you do SAS version is printed, and if you do syslast, what was the last data set that was rerun and which library does it belongs to, all this information is printed. These are also SAS default macro variables. So what was the version of SAS we are using? 9.3. Where it is work.test. Work.test. So if I want to print syslast, if you want to print the last data set which we had run ampersand syslast, then it will print the recent data set that was run. See, this is the data set that we run recently, right? So that information is directly printed. No need to enter the data set name. So same thing, like underscore last underscore also does the same thing. If you don't want to use macro variable, that's an data step option. So what does person put underscore automatic underscore do? It shows all the standard macro variables that are saved in the SAS environment. If we run this and if we go to log and check, these are all the SAS automated variables. So if you see here, where is our date and time? It should be printed. See, sysdate is printed here. Sysdate 9 dot is printed here. So if you use sysdate 9, then this format is printed. If you use this one, this is printed. If you use sysday, day is printed. So these are all the SAS default saved variables. You can use these options. If you want to see those options, what you need to use? Percent put of underscore automatic underscore. It displays all the automatic macro variables. So now if you want to input any value into a dataset, what do? We give the name of the variable and we assign a value to it. So dataset has variable name and value is Ravi. Okay. How do we create that? By using a macro. Print on, okay. So percent let name is equal to Ravi. So here I am creating macro variable by using percent let. I am assigning value called Ravi to the variable name. So if I want to call this macro variable, I need to use ampersand symbol. So percent put of. So what does percent put do? It prints into the log. But to call a macro variable, you always need to use ampersand symbol. This is called as an ampersand symbol. So how am I calling my macro variable? Percent put ampersand name. So now if you see in log, that is printed. Okay, we didn't run the above one. So if you haven't run that statement and you run apparent symbolic reference name not resolved because we haven't called the percent let statement. So first you need to call in that and then you need to run. So now percent put name is resolved to Ravi. So what am I doing to create a macro variable? I'm using percent let. I'm giving a macro variable name and I'm assigning a value to it. This is called as a global macro variable. You can call this uh, percent let name by using percent put ampersand name anywhere in your program. So you can call this macro variable anywhere in your program. So these macro variables are called global macro variables. You will also see what are local macro variables. We'll learn that also. So for city, I'm assigning a value called Hyderabad. Percent let city is equal to Hyderabad. And for message, I'm assigning a value called India is a great country. And percent put, what I'm saying, ampersand A, ampersand name, ampersand city, ampersand message. So what is my name? Ravi. What is my city? Hyderabad. What is my message? India is a great country. But for ampersand A, we haven't assigned any value. So let's see what happens. We need to call. See, for ampersand A, nothing is resolved because we haven't assigned any value. Apparent symbolic reference A not resolved because we haven't assigned any value for A. But for ampersand name, when it comes to ampersand name, Ravi is resolved. When it comes to ampersand city, Hyderabad is resolved. And for message, India is a get country. That was result. This is the way how to invoke an value to an macro variable. And how are we calling it? By using %put and symbol called ampersand. So this is how we create by using %let. So now if I have a data set like this called data test, and I have values a is equal to 10, b is equal to 20, c is equal to a plus b. Okay, a is equal to 10, b is equal to 20, c is equal to a plus b, which is 30, and I can also print it in the log. A is equal to 10, b is equal to 20, c is equal to 30. What am I doing for that? I'm using put statement to print it into the log. So if you do put a is equal to, a value will be printed. If you do b, then b value will be printed. If you do c, then c value is printed. Now if I want to input some values like this by using an macro variable, let's say %let I have assigned for macro variable called a 10, for b 20, and how am I calling it? %put of a and b. Okay. Okay, A is assigned as 20, B is assigned as 20. A is assigned as 10, B is assigned as 20. So %let C is equal to, C1 is equal to A plus B, C2 is equal to ampersand A plus ampersand B. What am I expecting here? Any one of you? What will be my result? When I use %put C1,
30.
what will be my result? When I use %put C2, what will be my result? Not Vidisha. Any others? Not Vidisha or Vibha Gupta. I want answer from Shravya, Tarak, or Bosky, or Monica, Anjali.
30.
No,
What will be my
if
value
we
for
dis
%put of ampersand C1?
A plus B,
Who is this?
Anjali.
Okay. What about you, Bosky? What will be my result for ampersand C1?
It'll be 10 and 20. 10 plus 20.
Actually, there will be no value, I guess. We do not.
So it
Yes,
won't
it,
resolve because we are
yes.
not using ampersand here for C1. So my value is not resolved. That should be my answer. That's what I'm saying. If you need to resolve an macro variable, you need to use ampersand. You are right, Anjali. Initially you said A and B. That is correct. So it doesn't resolve. It prints the A plus B. But when I use ampersand A and ampersand B, what is printed? 10
30.
plus 20 is printed. But I am not expecting this thing. But I am expecting the result 30. So for macro variable, you can't call it like this. So there is an option for that to use sum. You have to use %eval of ampersand A plus ampersand B. Let us see now what happens. So I need to call this %put ampersand C3. Now my result is 30. I'm not expecting this thing. I'm expecting this one 30. So for summing up of an numeric values by using a macro variable, what is the option used? Percent eval.
Value.
So you need to call ampersand a macro variable and macro variable b by using ampersand b. You need to use ampersand a, ampersand b, and you need to use plus sign, and you need to use percent eval. Now if I have some decimal values like this, let's say I have x is equal to 10.4, y is equal to 20.1. Those are still numerics, but can I use percent eval? No. When you have decimals, you are not able to use percent eval. There is other option called sys eval f. You need to use percent sys eval f. So let's first use percent eval, ampersand x and ampersand y, and let's see what will be our result. what is my result? A character operand was found in the percent eval function or percent if condition where numeric operand is required. The condition was this one. So it is not, it is showing an error. So what should I do then? I need to use sysival. Okay, let us call this percent ampersand z1. So what is my result? 30.4. So 10.24 plus 20.1 is 30.34, right? So what did I do for that? I have used sysival of, I called my macro variable x and y by using ampersand. What is the option that I have used? Percent sys eval f. So we have two options here. One is percent eval to sum the numeric values and percent sys eval to sum the decimal values. So that's with percent eval. This is an interview question, guys. If someone asks you, you should be able to say this. Okay, let's give a macro variable name. Percent let name is equal to Satyam Computers. Okay, and percent put name. You can call anywhere. You can call the macro variable any name anywhere. So in the log, what I want to print name of the company is, in the ampersand name, what will be resolved? Satyam Computers will be resolved. So if I run this, name of the company in the place of ampersand name, what is resolved? Satyam Computers is resolved. Now what am I doing? I'm assigning for DSN, I'm assigning a data set called sashelp.class. So what will be resolved when I use ampersand DN? Sashelp.class will be resolved. So percent let age under val is equal to 12. Okay. So proc print data is equal to what will be called here sashelp.class, where age is equal to ampersand age val. So what will be resolved here? 12. Where, so it only prints students with age 12 from sashelp.class. It only prints students with age 12, right? So it only printed students with age 12. And let's say percent let name is equal to Mike. We already assigned percent let name is equal to Ravi, but now I'm replacing it with Mike. Does it get replaced? Yes. So better not to use same macro variable name. If you want to use same macro variable name, it will replace the previous one. I'm saying where age is equal to age 12 and employee name is equal to Ravi. See, it printed age 12 and employee name is Mike. Instead of Ravi, it has changed to Mike because it has been replaced. It doesn't show any error in the log also. It automatically replaces it. So when you're already creating one macro variable name, try to use new name if you want to assign some other value for it. Otherwise, you'll be replacing the values.
So,
Go ahead.
can you explain me this again?
Because we already assigned a macro variable called percent let name is equal to Ravi. When we are calling it, what is the macro variable value for ampersand name? Ravi. But here, what am I doing? I'm giving a new name called Mike. So what is it doing? It is replacing the Ravi with Mike for
Name.
ampersand name.
So
Yeah.
there's
So
there's no
when you are using two different values, try to change the name of the macro variable. Don't use the same name.
So there is no need to call the name here.
No, because see, previously in the place of name Ravi was printed. Now in the place of name Mike was printed. So it replaces the previous value.
Okay.
It doesn't say like ampersand name is already there is some name similar name like that or something like that. It won't show any error or warning in the log.
Okay.
Percent macro percent men will be learning in the next notes. Yeah, you will be learning here. So now we know how to create macro variable by using percent let.
Let.
Now we will be learning how to create by using percent macro percent men. So you remember do loops, right? Do loop starts with percent do and it should be closed with percent end. Similarly, when you are creating macro variables using percent macro percent men, statement should be started with percent macro. It should be ended with percent men.
There is no need for run.
I'll show you once again. So let me complete, guys. I'll say. So and in this percent macro percent men, there are two types of macro variables you can create. One is called positional macros, positional, and the other one are keyword parameters. Positional and keyword parameters. There are again two types in this percent macro and percent men. Positional parameters, keyword parameters. And you can also create without using any parameters. So here you can use parameters in the percent macro statement, and these parameters can be positional parameters or keyword parameters. Two types of parameters you can use. Let's start with an example, then you will be understand. So this is how to create. You can insert any values or data sets between percent macro and percent men. For percent macro name, you should give the name of the macro. So this is the name of the macro. So every statement starts with percent macro and ends with percent men, and the name of the macro should be given here and here. And how are we calling this by using that name? So percent print class under data. So it gets printed into my work library. Here we are not using any print. We are just the name of the macro itself is print under class data. Yeah, without using semicolon also it will be running here. So this is how by using a parameter. So again it starts with percent macro, ends with percent men, and what is my macro name? Print under any data. Print under any data is my macro name, and here I have used ampersand DSN. This is my parameter I'm passing. How do we call that parameter? By using ampersand DSN. Here I should define it. What is that ampersand DSN? Class is my ampersand DSN. So now I am printing it, proc print. See, it gets printed. Because here we are using proc print data is equal to ampersand DSN. Which data set I am printing? Class.
But sir, where did we give the DSN? Where is the name assigned as DSN? Did you assign it
No need
anywhere?
DSN because
Person
it's already
print
said
any
here, right?
data.
So that value is inputted here.
Oh,
That's what the
so
parameter is.
DSN
This is the
DSN is
parameter
data
we are
set
passing
name.
DSN. We are asking the parameter to recall here. And what is that parameter? Parameter is class. Now you don't need to run this part again. This part is already once run in the background. So you can run as many data sets as you want at a time now. See now air, it prints the air data set. Now if you run this one, this gets printed, company gets printed. Now company data set gets printed. So you can include as many statements as like this. All you need to do is you can change
But
the data
sir,
set which you want to print.
only SAS help folder will get printed, or you write any other folder, it will get printed.
Any other folder.
Okay.
So ampersand DSN is resolved to SAS help dot class in the first place. Then it is resolved to SAS help dot air. Then it is resolved to SAS help dot company. So what here we are passing only one parameter. We can also pass two parameters or 10 parameters. So here what am I doing? Ampersand DSN. Okay. And what is my macro name? Print under any data again. Okay. What is var list? So proc print, I'm printing only certain variables here. I don't want to print the entire variables of the data set. Okay. In DSN, this is in the first place, right? So in the first place, you should give the data set name. These are called positional parameters. You were not supposed to do like this, you can't give something like this. You can't give age here, and you can't do this one here because this is position specific. So in the first place, I'm giving DSN, and in DSN, I'm resolving it into dataset name. So sashelp.class should be in the first place. In the var list, which variables I want to print from the dataset. I want to print only age, height, and weight. Okay, let's run this. Only age, height, and weight are printed. So here I'm using two parameters, and two parameters are called positional parameters. This is resolving to dataset name. These are resolving to variable names.
Sir,
Mhm.
if we change DSN and variable list,
See, that's what I'm doing. Let me
firstly it will
complete it.
be
You can ask the questions at then. So
okay.
here I'm using the variables in the first place, and I'm using the dataset in the second place. But it hasn't been changed. So let's run and check what happens. See, I got an error. So it is looking for dataset called age. It is looking for dataset called height. There is no dataset with age or height, right? So it is printing an error. Doesn't work. Incorrect order. The order should be the dataset name should be in the first place and variable name should be in the second place. Now these are called positional parameters. What did we learn first? We learned how to print without using parameters. Now we learned by using keyword parameters. Now we will learn how to use keyword parameters. We also learned positional parameters. In keyword parameters, you will be using DSN equals to, comma, var list equals to. You need to use equal to symbol. Previously, we are not using that. That's only the difference. So when we are using like this, we are again calling same thing, but here in the first place, we are calling variables. But in the first place here, we have data set. And one more thing, you have to again give the name here. Previously, we didn't give. It should be because this is assigned according to the position. So we haven't called var list again in the when macro resolving, we haven't called a macro variable name, right? Var list is not mentioned here, still it has run. But here you need to give var list and their values, DSN and their values. But it can be in any place. Here DSN is in the first place, right? It can also be in the second place. So you have to give the name of the keyword parameter and its value, and again the name of the keyword parameter and its value. Let's run this. See, again age, height, and weight are printed. Still the position changed, but you need to give keyword parameters name and its value. Same thing here. I'm using DSN in the first place now. So DSN is my parameter and its value, and varList is my parameter, and I'm printing only product and region from SASHelp.class. I can only call this line. See. So now what is the advantage of this creating macro? So if you have 100 data sets, by using no need to write this part of program every time. All we need to do is which data set you need to run it. You can create 100 different lines and run 100 data sets at a time. That's the advantage of creating macro. Here we have only 2 lines of code. Let's say we have 100 lines of code and we need to input different data sets. So you can do that also. You can save your time. So I'm creating one more macro called print under any under data, and I'm creating, what are these parameters called? Keyword parameters. So I'm assigning value for tables as help.class for varList underscore. So I'm printing all the variables. Underscore or underscore, what it does, it prints all the variables. Percent print data is equal to. So I haven't defined here any parameters. Let's see what will be running. Still it get run because it defaultly takes these two. When you haven't defined and when you have only single, you can also, previously what did we do? Previously we had blank variable here and assign values here. Now what we are doing, we are assigning values directly here itself, and we are calling the macro. So it also get called. But in this case, you are not able to do multiple lines at a time. Let's run this. You can do this again. Region and product. You can either do this way. So for the first value, you can assign it here. You can call the blank line here. And for the others, you can replace the values. So it automatically replaces, right? Like what did percent let do? Ampersand name is replaced as Mike, but initially it was Ravi, right? So similarly here also it get replaced with, initially it was sashelp.class for table, now it is changed to sashelp.shoes, and for varList initially it was underscore or underscore, now it was changed to region and product. So you can fix default values for keyword parameters while defining a macro. So you can initially define certain values, but you can also fix those values in each statement separately. Or better way is creating like this. Always this is the better way of creating. There will be no confusion. Same thing. We are using one more data set. Age, height, and weight are printed. Here we are using varList in the first place and TBL in the second place. It doesn't matter because these are keyword parameters. If it is a positional parameters, we'll have an issue if you are changing the positions. But these are keyword parameters. There was no issue. You can do anyway. See, now I have taken two, right? I have taken two macro variables. One is table and second is var list. But when I'm calling only table. I'm not giving var list. So what it does, it takes the sashelp.choose and prints entire data set. When you are not defining var list, it prints the entire dataset variables. So it printed the entire. So even if you give 3 macro variable names or 4 macro variable names, for some datasets, let's say you have only 2 variables, 2 macro parameters, and sometimes if you pass one parameter also, it get resolved. there won't be any issues in the log. It won't say like var list is missing in this statement. It still prints it. So that's all with percent macro, percent men. Similarly, I have one more example here in this sheet. Let us copy that into the next one. So same thing, I'm using two macro variables called var and out. So what am I doing here? Proc freak. So proc freak for SAS help dot class. I'm using no print. Initially, I'm taking frequencies for region versus product. What is ampersand var? Ampersand var results to product. What is my output dataset? Frequency. So if I run this, I'll get frequencies for region versus product. I'm not printing it and it is coming into dataset. So I got the frequencies for region versus product. This is my count. So in the second place, what am I doing? I'm doing frequency for region versus subsidiary. I'm doing frequencies for region versus subsidiary. So I'm doing it for these two variables. Initially I did region versus product. Now I am doing region versus subsidiary. So I don't need to run the entire thing again. I only need to run this piece of code. So what will be my new output? Tarak, what will be my new output? Is he in the class?
Yes, I'm sure.
Tarak, what is my output printed?
Uh, your output printed region and product, sir.
Can you speak louder, Tarak?
Yeah, I'm speaking louder. I'm saying your output came frequency for region and product.
No, here I am saying what will be my output data set. You worked on proc frequency, right? Here I am using ampersand out and I am resolving by using this piece of code. So what will be my output dataset name? Shravya?
It's frequency one.
Yes. So Monica, what will be my result for? It will be for region and subsidiary. So if I run this piece of code, frequency one is created and it's for region and subsidiary. So what is that you should be understanding now, right? What is the advantage of macro? I can create multiple things. Like let's say I have one more thing. If you want to do it based on region and product and subsidiary, you can include one more line. You can include one more line here. You can include one more line and you can use any variable you want to use. And you can output into a new dataset called frequency 2. So you can output like hundreds of datasets at a time. So you can include as many statements as you want and multiple frequencies for different variables will be outputted at a time. No need to write the proc freak step each and every time. That's the advantage of macros. Any questions, guys? So now
Sir,
everyone
you
should
can
know how to create a macro variable by using %let and %macro, %men.
I can't see the screen.
Can you hear me, sir? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can through this macro we can bring from any folder and any data set.
Yeah, any folder, any data set.
Sir?
Yeah, I'm not sharing anything yet. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, go ahead. Any question?
Yes, sir. In macros, we did variables and DSN, right? So we have to write DSN firstly and then variables, right?
You can give any name. Just I gave an example as DSN. You can name it as anything, whatever you want. You can name it as var. You can name it as
But in positioning, uh, we firstly wrote DSN, right?
yeah.
As dataset name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But if we want variable first and then if we write that way, then will it work?
For positional macros, positions should be matching. That's what I'm saying. Both of should be in the same position.
Okay, it doesn't matter you write the dataset name first or you write variables first.
Yeah. Whatever it can be, but it should be in the order given in the percent macro statement.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
So I'll send you this document. Follow with this, and I'll send a couple of more documents for macros. Go with this introduction of macros, so macro functions, macro beyond basics. There are lot of options in macros in the recent versions. Like there are options for masking special characters, many things. We'll be discussing some of those, but you have to work more to know about macros. Why is it not responding? So now we know how to use %let and %put, right? For calling macro variables. So this is how they are resolved to. A is resolved to 10 here, and ampersand name is resolved to Vinay here, and date is resolved to this one. Because we have given directly date here, and it is resolved to ampersand date. So now we know how to use %let, %macro, %min. Creating macro variable through a data step. Callsymput routine assigns data step information to macro variable. So in the first place, we need to use option called Callsymput. We need to use the name of the macro variable and assign a value in the second place. So initially macro variable name is assigned, and either the variable constant value or variable name from a SAS dataset. So we can input and value directly here, or we can bring it from any other dataset like we did before, right? We can input and value here, or we can also call SAS help.class or any dataset. So same thing for Callsymput also. So here if you see, I'm creating data called test, and for A2 I'm assigning value called 10, and for macro variable, this is the macro variable I'm creating. What's the macro variable I'm creating? A3, and what is the value I'm assigning again? 10. This is how in the dataset we assign. This is how by using a Callsymput. In dataset we directly assign like this. By using %let, how we will do %let A2 is equal to 10. We can assign like that. When it comes to Callsymput, how do we assign it? We'll first assign macro variable name, comma 10. So what is the value of my ampersand A3? 10. So if I run this, put of A2, what will be assigned to A2? 10 will be assigned. What will be assigned to A3? 10 will be assigned, because here also we are giving 10. See, for A2 10 is assigned. For A3 also 10 is assigned. So proc print where stores is equal to A3. you can apply like this anywhere. In SAS help.choose, I want to print where stores is equal, where stores having value 10. See, where stores having value 10. These regions and these products has value 10 for stores. So in the data set, how we assign name is equal to Pawan, age is equal to 23, right? So initially I have assigned values name as Pawan and age as 25. So for name 2, I'm calling name. For name 3, I'm calling value name. For standard age, I'm calling this variable. Either you can call the name of the variable. So let's first run the previous data set. So if I call this as dataset test, if I run this dataset, what will be my result? So I got name as Pawan, age as 25, right? So now I don't want to create any dataset. I just want to create a null dataset. And for name 2, I want to assign the variables value. So I want to assign this like this. For name 3, I want to assign directly the value, not the name of the variable. Here I want to assign again 25. So what will be my value for name 3? Vibha Gupta, what will be my
25.
value for
Name.
name 3?
Name. Name.
Name. What will be my value for name 2?
Pawan.
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 What will be my value for standard is 25. So
20.
let's run
20.
this and check it. So name 2 Pawan, standard is 25, name 3 name. So that is how we create by using Callsymput. You can either use variable names or also you can input directly value. So you can see what is resolving to what. Box or data. Same thing. From I'm taking SAS help.class dataset. Okay. I'm assigning values of height to highest height. I'm taking only the first observation. Initially, I'm sorting it into descending height. Okay, what will happen if I do descending height? The highest height will be present in the first place, right? Now I want to select the highest height of the student. How do I do? I have to take only first observation. I have to take the first observation if I want to print the height of the highest height of the student from the class. So what did I do for that? Underscore n underscore 1, then it prints only first thing because we already sorted according to descending, and then we are selecting only the first observation. And for highest under height, I'm assigning height. So if I use this tab, so what am I saying? Percent put highest height in the class is, that value will be printed 72. Highest height is 72. Here I have lot of spaces because this is a numeric value. I can also convert into character value. Here you can use input functions also. Input or strip functions if you want to. See, when you're trying to store numeric macro variable value as macro variable, then Callsymput is suggested. Or there is a direct function called Callsymput. Instead of symput, you can also use symput here. So if I use previously we used symput, right? Previously we used symput. Now if we are using symput, what will happen? See, there is no space here. Extra spaces are deleted. It's same thing like strip function, trim to left. Here we have an so much of space. Here space is deleted. So we have two different functions again. So Callsymput and Callsymput. If you want to trim to left, you can use symput directly instead of using symput. Or you can also use compress of, put of, these options also. and you need to use format. Same thing again. Let's run this. And I'm assigning format dot two, so 2 decimals are printed. So height of the class is 72. You can either use Symput or Symputex, or you can use your SAS functions. Same thing, I'm assigning Callsymput. I'm creating variable called Judy under weight. I'm assigning weight of the Judy. I'm only taking Judy from class dataset. What is the weight of Judy? If you see in the class dataset, what is the weight of Judy? Where is J? What is the weight of Judy? So I'm expecting value called 90. The weight of Judy is 90, right? So I'm selecting only 90. Is Judy's weight is 90. That's get printed. So you can also use, here I'm using Symputex. Instead of that, you can also use put. Same result, but I'm using format 2 dot. 90, but I'm using format 2 dot, so 2 decimals are printed. That's all guys for Callsymput. I have more examples here if you want to. So today we learned how to create macro variables using %let. And Tarak, can you explain what did we learn today?
So we learned today. I didn't come. I come 15 minutes late. So
Okay,
that's
say me from